Hello, this is Catherine Marie. I wanted to do a quick intro for the episode about exercise. If you noticed, I released the exercise episode at the same time as a post-exertional malaise flare-up episode. And the reason why is because shortly after I made this exercise episode, I had a flare-up that was a pretty bad one. Not the worst ever, but I was still in bed a lot, and I wanted to give a disclaimer that I may have been a little overzealous in my thoughts on exercise because I ended up having a flare-up afterwards, and I have recorded that as well, so you can kind of listen in on the different symptoms from each day, and I imagine you have the same ones, but it was just kind of nice to listen after the fact because I always forget what it's like when I'm not having one. So anyway, so without further ado, here's the episode on exercise. Hello, this is Catherine Marie, and you are listening to episode 12. Today, I want to talk about solely exercise because I know I included it in one of the other episodes with a couple other topics, but I think exercise deserves its own little chat, if you will. So first, I wanted to say that I am not giving you recommendations for what to do as far as exercise because I think, as with everything with long COVID, symptoms and reactions to things and everything is so specialized, not specialized, what's the word I'm looking for? Brain fog minute. It's individual, specific to each person, each patient with long COVID. So I will tell you what I do, but I also wanted to make sure that you knew about the article that came out that just was talking about how they found in muscle tissue of people with long COVID that it's a negative effect on their muscles compared to people that don't have long COVID. And that was really concerning to a lot of people. A lot of physical therapists have been recommending graded exercise. And I think that in general, if you're not dealing with a long COVID patient, that is a completely reasonable thing to do. And graded exercise is just like, just how it sounds, just increasing slowly over time. But I think for myself, I'm kind of stuck in the middle because I'm thinking, well, I know that my body is going to react differently to exercise than it used to, and I need to be really careful and really protective of my body when I try to exercise. But at the same time, I also don't want to just completely waste away and just not try to exercise at all. It's really individual. Some people in the long COVID groups that I'm in, some people really swear by walking a certain amount every day and slowly increasing that amount. Other people, especially if you're having a flare up, just don't just rest, but it's so hard to know what to do when you're going through it, because it's so easy to second guess yourself when you're feeling like crap and feeling guilty and lazy and, all you want to do is just go back to your pre-COVID self and your level of functioning. And you would give like anything to feel that even just for a little while. But then you've experienced the post-exertional malaise that comes within several hours of any mental or physical exertion, and so you're kind of scared to exert yourself, so to speak. And I know I mentioned the Long COVID MD podcast that I found in the last couple of months, but she is a physician, and she goes through things more scientifically than I'm going through them. And she's definitely worth a listen. And she goes through lots of more medical things and explains them in a clear way. But for myself, what I do is, as I mentioned in the last episode about exercise, I hired a physical trainer at a gym that's close by, and I actually started the training right when I turned 40, and very shortly after, within a few months, I got COVID, and I had to stop all activity in the gym for quite a while. And I remember I went on a trip to visit our families, and we were going to go to, I believe it was a baseball game, and I was feeling really nervous because I didn't think that I could walk from the car to the baseball park, or I don't know if I just said that word wrong, but you know what I'm trying to say. Ball field. So then it just so happened, before I went on that trip back to visit our families, that I got the vaccine that had come out for the strain that I was infected with in the summer. And once I got the vaccine, I actually felt better for quite a while. And I even started riding my e-bike to work again. And I was really feeling good, for a little while. And then eventually I just pushed myself too hard, as is a lot of the issue with my story. As soon as I start to feel better, I immediately try to go back to my previous life, and I end up running myself into the ground, which sucks. But anyway, let me get back to what I was trying to communicate before. So I did rest a lot, and I did not do any physical training at all for many, many weeks, actually many months. And then I started doing little partial bits of training, and it waxes and wanes. Sometimes I can go, sometimes I can't go. Thankfully, my physical trainer is really, really patient and kind, and I think I'm the only person with long COVID that he has. And so he is, trying to make sure that we do everything that will help me as much as possible. And when the article came out about the muscle tissue of the long COVID patients having a different reaction to exercise than normal people, he was concerned. And I said, okay, well, we'll just be really, really careful, So most of the time, it starts out where I do 5 minutes, between 5 and 10 minutes. Usually it's more like 6, 7, 8, depending on, how I'm feeling, and very, very lightly on the elliptical, just to kind of warm up a little bit. I definitely cannot do a lot of cardio because I get very short of breath pretty fast, and my heart rate goes up really fast. And if you have long COVID, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I don't even need to really explain it anymore. But cardio is kind of rough for us, right? So the lifting weights and strength training is something that I think is reasonable to do in bits. And I also only do it when I know that I have the opportunity to rest, like that day and maybe the next day, or I have multiple pockets of time to nap. I'm trying really, really hard to get better with taking naps before and after I do anything, because that way, when I'm doing the thing that I'm trying to do, usually I'm able to do it in kind of a normalish way. At least the people around me usually don't have any idea that I have long COVID. I'm usually very good at masking it. sometimes I think that's not a good thing, but anyway, with the exercise, it's like if I feel like I'll go into the gym, and if I start to feel really, really tired, like pretty fast, or better yet, I'll take my dog for a little walk, like a 5-minute walk when I let her out in the morning before I go to the gym. And then that gives me a couple of hours to kind of see how I'm feeling. And usually that's when I can tell between that and how I felt the previous day, like, okay, I can do the gym today, or no, I really need to rest today. And at the gym, it's really interesting to me, and frustrating as well, how differently I can lift depending on the week. I don't even pay attention to what I'm lifting because I don't care what I'm lifting. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not gonna waste away, and that part of me is trying to stay at least somewhat fit, even if I'm not able to do very much. At least I'm trying to do something. I feel like it's like almost trying to fight back a little bit against, the disease or whatever. But I also don't want to push it too far so that it ends up being detrimental to me. I feel like it's this really strange balance. So I think for me, when I just kind of watch how I respond to things, and if I feel bad after, I'm like, okay, like, let's not do that anymore, and then go, rest for a while and not do anything, or just slowly increase here and there. But one of my workers' comp doctor, when I had the flare-up, the really bad flare-up that has taken me off work, and from which I haven't really fully recovered yet. I guess it's more like a new baseline. She said something like, well, why don't you just walk? Because what I was doing was I said, okay, I walked a quarter of a mile, and then I walked half a mile, and then I walked 3/4 mile, and then I walked 1 mile, and I was just getting really sick. And she was like, no, you're increasing way too fast. And this is a doctor who has worked with hundreds of first responders who have long COVID. And she said, no, you need to do like 0.1 or 0.2 miles for like weeks, and then go up by 1/10 or something. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I couldn't believe it, because I thought I was already going way too slow. But she was serious. She said, no way, you gotta really slow it down. And every time, like, this is just one of the many times having long COVID, but I'm just blown away by how the disease or illness manifests in my body and in my life. I just think to myself, I don't understand how this is even possible, that 1 minute I'm walking 4 miles with my dog, or, and hiking and all that sort of thing. And then a few months later, I can barely walk a quarter of a mile. I'm kind of shuffling along. Like, it's so freaking bizarre, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I guess the bottom line of all of this is, stay up on any of the articles that you see. It looks like the graded exercise is not really recommended for us, but kind of monitoring yourself and being really gentle and cautious. I think that if you want to, and you feel good enough to do it, to try it, it's okay. The worst that happens is you have post-exertional malaise, and then you have to rest. What was the other thing I was going to say about that? I lost it. Darn it. Well, and I know what I was going to say. So when I was talking about exercise before, we were talking about, oh man, I lost it again. See, this episode is too long. My brain is starting to kaput on me. Okay. Okay, yes, I remember. Okay, in the first episode about exercise, I was talking about how my trainer had said to sit and stand. And I was talking to the sibling that I have who has long COVID as well, and they were like, "Hey, why did you even like, because people with POTS or like the dysautonomia stuff, they are like they might really have a hard time if they're sitting and standing." And I was like, "Oh, that's a really good point." Like I just yeah, so I mean, I therefore have no real recommendation for anyone because everybody has different stuff going on. And I think if you just pay really close attention to what your body is telling you, even if it's telling you in a delayed way later than you would like your body to tell you what it thinks about different things, just keep track, keep notes on how things make you feel, and just try not to get frustrated and just be really, really gentle and kind to yourself as you would with a child. Because I feel like a lot of times when we become sick, there's a lot of us, or a lot of part of us that is very childlike, because it kind of gets you right to basic things that you need in your life, and just the strain of having an illness can really affect people. So anyway, I'm sorry I went so long, and I will definitely try to keep it at 10 minutes in the future, because as you can see, my brain started to not work very well. But thank you for listening, and please let me know if you have any insights on exercise that you would like to share with the rest of us. So have a good rest of your day. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.